Hello class, and welcome to the second day of section 4.3. Today we will be converting from point slope form into standard form. So a reminder from the last lesson that point slope form is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1, where m is the slope and x1 and y1 are the point that you are given. A reminder from earlier in chapter 3, standard form has the format ax plus by is equal to c. There were 4 rules associated with this. Number 1, a is positive, so that number in front of x has to be positive. 2, a or b exists, so that means there is an x or a y that exists in the equation. 3 is no fractions or decimals in the equation, and we're going to talk about how to get rid of fractions in this video. You're not going to have to worry about decimals. We're not going to deal with those in this section. And then number 4 is a, b, and c can't be reduced, which means that we can't divide a, b, and c by the same number. So again, we're going to be going from point slope form and converting it into standard form. So our first example here, we're going to rewrite y minus 10 is equal to negative 6 parentheses x plus 9. The first thing you're going to have to do here is the distributive property. So we're going to do y minus 10 is equal to negative 6 times x, which is negative 6x. And then negative 6 times 9, which gives us negative 54. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to try and follow those rules. So the first thing we're going to look at is a positive? Right now, a is not positive. So when we have a negative a, we're going to move x. So we need to move this over by y. And we're going to add 6x to both sides because we want x and y to be on the same side. So we have 6x plus y minus 10 is equal to negative 54. Now in order to get it into ax plus by equals c, I'm going to need to get rid of this 10. So I'm going to go ahead and add 10 to both sides of my equation. And I get a final answer of 6x plus y is equal to negative 44. A is positive, x or y exists, there are no fractions or decimals, and we cannot divide all of these by the same number. So our equation is 6x plus y is equal to negative 44. Go ahead and try this one on your own. Distributing the 4 first, we get 4x minus 60. This time our x is positive, so we are not going to move that x. We don't want to make it negative. So we're going to bring the y over to the x by subtracting y. So we get 6 is equal to 4x minus y minus 60. Then I need to get rid of that 60, so I'm going to add 60 to both sides, giving me 66 is equal to 4x minus y. X is positive, x or y exists, no fractions or decimals, and we can't divide by the same number. Again, starting with this one, we need to distribute to get rid of those parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to distribute 1/4 to both of my numbers. So I have y plus 16 is equal to 1/4 x minus, and then off to the side we've got 1 over 4 times 13 over 1. 1 times 13 gives me 13. 4 times 1 gives me 4. You're going to want to leave this as a fraction right now, because now in order to eliminate the fractions, which is one of our rules, we're going to go ahead and multiply the whole equation by 4. So we're going to start by doing 4 times y, which gives me 4y. Then I've got 4 times 16, which is going to give me 64. Then I've got 1/4 times 4, which is 4 over 1. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 divided by 4 gives me a 1. X. And then I've got subtracting. Now I've got 13 over 4 times 4 over 4. 13 times 4 gives me 52. And 52 divided by 4 gives me 13. So as you can see, when I multiply by that denominator, so I multiplied by 4, I was left with just the numerators, 1x and 13. So you don't have to show that work off to the side. You can just leave the numerators, so 1x and 13. Now I'm going to go ahead and continue to move into standard form. Again, we've got a positive a value or a positive x, so don't move it. So we want to get our y over by our x, so we're going to subtract 4y and subtract 4y, giving us 64 is equal to 1x minus 4y minus 13. Then I need to get rid of that 13, so I'm going to go ahead and add 13 to both sides, giving me a final answer of 77 is equal to 1x minus 4. Again, we want to double check. X is positive. X or y exists. We can't divide by anything, and there are no fractions or decimals. I'm going to roll through one more example with the fractions here. So again, we're going to want to start our problem by distributing. So we're going to go ahead and distribute. So I've got y minus 17 is equal to negative 7/8 x minus, and then I've got negative 7 over 8 times 24 over 1. When I do negative 7 times 24, I'm going to get an answer of negative 168. 8 times 1 is 8. Negative 168 divided by 8 gives me a negative 21. We've got subtraction of a negative now, so I'm going to turn that into addition. Again, we still have a denominator here that we need to get rid of, so I'm going to multiply this whole equation by 8. So even though it's just the slope part that has a fraction, we still need to multiply to get rid of it. In that last example, both the slope and the other piece had a fraction. In this case, just the slope had a fraction, but we still need to multiply to get rid of it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply by 8, and once I do this, I get 8y minus 136 is equal to negative 7x plus 21 times 8, which is going to give me 168. So now I'm going to go ahead and I need to rearrange. I want to notice that my x here is negative, so I'm going to move that by adding it to both sides of the equation, and I get 7x plus 8y minus 136 is equal to 168. And to finish out my problem, I need to move 136 to the other side, so I'm going to add 136, and when I do this, I get 7x plus 8y is equal to 304. Again, x is positive, x or y exists, no fractions or decimals, and we cannot simplify. Go ahead and try this one on your own. Distributing, we end up with 2/5 x plus 6. Then we're going to multiply the whole thing by 5. Once I do this, I notice my x is positive, so I'm going to move the y over to the x, and then I'm going to move the 30 over to the other side, so I end up with a final answer of negative 15 is equal to 2x minus 5y. If you have questions about this or anything else from the lesson, please let me know.